This is my story. On June 23, 2003, I went to work for MedTech Construction. I was the first official employee outside of the then owner, Charles C. Warren Jr. At that time I joined, we were averaging 3/4 of a dozen new builds per year and about that many remodels as well. Our cabinet shop was in a 5,000-foot building where many months came and went that the rent was difficult to make, and the 3 to 4 part-time independents we had who were managed by Tom Murphy over there were very unreliable for no other reason than the fact that we were very unreliable ourselves when it came to committing to 40+ hours a week. I had graduated from Texas A&M just over 3.5 years prior and had been working for a large national mechanical contractor, serving as a project manager for them. Nonetheless, I had an extremely stable job and was climbing the ranks as fast as one could at my age. I was given ample opportunities, last of which was running a multi-million-dollar project where I had over 40 employees working under me. I was very stable, to say the least, where I was, and had a very bright future in store for myself. Those were in the words of several of the executives there. I had a larger vision than they could provide for me, one that only started to come to fruition on the 23rd of June in 2003. It would take us well into the middle of the night for me to go through every single detail along the way, but it is very important to me for each and every one of you to understand who it is that you're working for, where they came from, and what they stand for, as it is the answers to each of these questions that identifies why we're even in this room right now. We have a plan, we have a vision, and we believe with each and every one of your commitments that seeing Vision 2015 through is just the beginning of where the future will take us. Charlie was and still is a close family friend of mine and my family's. The plan all along was for me to eventually take over MedTech. 9 months after I started and had realized what all I had gotten myself into, I hired my first employee. There are a number of nicknames he's earned himself over the years, but for the sake of this story, I'll refer to him as John. John Northcutt came on board in April of 2004, and it was a full year before we hired our second employee. Alan Acox was number 2. Today, Alan serves as our DFW division manager. He started on the 9th of April 2005. I'll spare you with all of the details that went on between mid-2003 to the end of 2004. Let's just say we're all very fortunate to be here today. When I say we had some ugly times, you have absolutely no idea. We were committed, however. You often hear from our senior leaders that we have all put our blood, sweat, and tears into making this rocket fly. With full authority, I can look at each of you and tell you that this is a mere understatement. Our tireless efforts were starting to pay off. By the middle of 2005, and despite the odds, I was able to convince another one of my right hands, close friend both then and now, Nathan Zochik, to join us. We actually reloaded him from a feed yard somewhere next door to nowhere up in Kansas. It was only a month after this that I somehow was able to convince Brian Nash to join us. Keep in mind that, mind you, we all went to college together, and working amongst one another was a scary thought, to say the least. Mind you that Brian Nash had just married his bride Lindsay some 2 months earlier, and that my wife Shelley and I had helped arrange them getting together, and now him going to work for me? Wow. Talking about a leap of faith he had. He believed in me, and he believed in what we had in store for all of us. By this time, we were becoming a relatively greased skid. At least we thought. My vision was relatively clear, that my personal job was to see and guide us into 3 different parts of Texas. The largest 3, of course. DFW, Austin and San Antonio, and Houston as well. I knew I certainly wasn't going to be able to do this by myself. Not even close. But that with a few key folks in place, I felt I could manage this. We were on a mission. In January of 2006, I officially took over. I'd purchased the company from Charlie and couldn't have been more motivated. We continued to bring more and more folks on as each of our divisions matured. In the middle of the second quarter, I believe it was in 2007, I announced that we were going to Houston. This was the missing link to the triangle I had in my mind. I'm not sure if any of you have ever heard or read the history of Southwest Airlines, but in my mind, it was virtually impossible to not try and follow it. Connecting DFW to Austin and San Antonio and then to Houston. And there we went. On August 15th, 2007, a lifelong friend and dear friend to this day, Trevor Fawcett, joined us. I somehow finagled him to leave one of the best climates in the world to go to as well. Let's just say the weather in Houston, Texas is a little different than in the state of California where he was. Business was good, but boy were we experiencing the pain and agony of growth. In 2008, our revenues were up 62% from the previous year. We all know what happened in 2008. A market crash. Many professionals to this day still compare to the Great Depression. We managed to keep revenues flat in 2009. We continue to grow our people and expand farther into existing divisions in the regions that we had. We won a few awards along the way that I'm still very proud of to this day during these times. 2 years in a row, in fact, we won Dallas Top 100, recognizing the fastest growing Dallas-based companies issued by the SMU Cox School of Business. 2010 was another very strong growth year for us, particularly coming off of a flat 09 that I'd mentioned earlier. It was in the middle of 2010 where our Southeast region was born, keeping in mind that it wasn't 6 months prior that we had launched Vision 2015. We were on a mission. In addition to the triangle back in Texas, we quickly started building another triangle of our own. Our Southeast operations began in Atlanta, Georgia in 2011. 2011 was the signature year for us. We had implemented a number of new systems. We had all 4 divisions kicking strong, a number of key positions get filled by well-deserved folks. All in all, we had an awesome year. The awesomeness of 11 quickly came to a close and had an extremely high bar set for 12. Our budgets were inked the first week of December in 2011 and bore an aggressive 16.7% increase year-end over budget. We struggled the first 6 months of this year for a number of reasons, being honest. Coming off of a record year and starting fresh is never easy, particularly when it ended as strong as it did. Despite the first 2 quarters this year and a moderately timid intro into the third quarter, we're very hopeful for what we have on the books going into the last part of the year. As we sit here tonight, I can't tell you that we will make our budget. We still have an opportunity to, but the chances are growing to be relatively slim. However, the bright side is this. That is that our burn rate is ahead of budget. Specifically, the pace that we're building and selling work right now as a whole is very, very solid. As I close telling you MedTech's story, at least my story, I want you to chew on some of these stats. They're not opinions, they're raw facts. You should be extremely proud of them, and frankly, you should be both encouraged and motivated to know that your destiny here arguably lies in your own hands, as the opportunities forthcoming are numerous. Here's a few things to chew on. We have approximately 55 full-time employees today. These are not to be confused with the 25 employees that we spun off into a separate organization called Top Shelf Millwork. We have an employee currently working on 2 projects in the state of Washington near Seattle, some 2,250 miles from here. And I want to personally say thank you to Paul Stanley, who's unable to be with us here tonight, as he and his family have temporarily moved up to Seattle to take care of those projects for us. We carry general contractors licenses in the state of Washington, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and now Florida, soon to be in Louisiana as well. The states of Texas nor Oklahoma do not require them. Our revenues have grown 20-fold since 2003. The Southeast region had 2 employees attend this retreat last year, one of which was John Northcutt. This year we have 8. You think they're growing? Speaking of the Southeast, this year we have taken on a full-blown effort of covering Alabama out of our Atlanta division, specifically in joint efforts from Edgar Ballou, Ryan Freeman, and John Northcutt's leadership. By year end, they're expecting a presence in Nashville, Tennessee, out of Birmingham, Alabama, and to be providing measurable coverage to Southern Tennessee out of our Atlanta office. I ask you again, do you think they're growing? Our Central Texas division set sail to expand the top and bottom side of their division last year. This year, we've doubled our exposure in the northern parts of Central Texas, taking us all the way up to Waco and all the way down to the Rio Grande Valley, where combined we'll do well over 7 figures. Similarly, in DFW, we've made extremely valiant efforts to expand our exposure in the state of Oklahoma. Tim Swartz, for example, has done an excellent job in leading these efforts, where we've taken on a number of new projects that we would not have received without the measures that he's taken to make us as known as he has up there. We had another successful national sales meeting again earlier this summer. Jointly, our DFW and corporate groups are continuing to serve 2 local charities, Meals on Wheels, where we deliver food to elders on a weekly basis, as well as the support that we're giving to both the Boys and Girls Club in Rockwall County. I'm actually currently working with them right now to supply them 1 to 2 vans for them to pick up their children at both home and school to attend their club. We received an extremely honorable award last October in many of our favorite institutions. That's Aggie Land, for those of you that don't know. We received the Aggie 100. We were recognized and labeled the top 100 Aggie-owned companies in the world by the Mays Business School at Texas A&M University. I feel strong that I will be able to report to you this time next year that we received it again based on last year's performance. Folks, frankly, there are too many of you to name each of you individually, and too many stories for me to name them all. The point is this: you have a lot to be proud of. Cheers to New Horizons. Cheers to Vision 2015. Cheers to a fantastic staff retreat. And most importantly, cheers to each of you, and thank you for each and every one of you for all the hard work that you give to us.